is Michi Hoyer from Avid Chronic Racing, and today we are going for another episode of setup guiding. Last time we were at Interlagos in the FSR car, and a follower of me, 6X, asked me for doing a setup guide here at Malaysia. So this is going to be exactly what I'm gonna do. And I've already joined into a private session in here. Malaysian Grand Prix. This year there was the last Formula 1 Grand Prix in Malaysia, so the contract has not been renewed with I think Liberty Media, the company Formula 1 now is controlling, is called. And to me that really is a shame, because Malaysia is a very interesting track, a track which is very technical. Got a lot of fast corners where the shifting of balance just needs to be right, and yeah, where the car must be really good. I mean, you need to really trust the car doing what you want it to do. Going through the fast corners, it's a very bumpy surface, so the setup and suspension needs a lot of work. So we're going to do another series of setup guiding. So as we usually go, we're on the as you can see on the factory defaults on rFactor 2. And we keep the gearing, we go down with the red size, we go down with the brake map a little bit, which is more or less personal liking. We stay with the suspension. We stay with the weight distribution. We only increase the maximum pedal force, which I do like, at 100%, and a little bit less at the front. And I want you guys to welcome to the stream today again. So Podchik and Miguel already here. Thanks for joining, and I hope you enjoy what I'm doing and you can learn something. So what we're gonna do is like real Formula 1 teams do. They do their installation laps right at the beginning of the session and see if everything works. So that's exactly what we're gonna do as well. Still waiting for the 90-minute session to start, and then off we can go. Is this Paul Brennan? Or some other Paul I just don't recognize yet. Anyway, we're here on Malaysia on that track, and I've just loaded a little railroad, so we got some little basic grip in here. The railroad though is static. That means that the track side grip won't evolve at all. Which then guarantees that whatever we do here on the setup will make us faster because of the setup and not because of the track. Tire pressures here are, yes, 90 at the front and 80 at the back. First of all, this is the basic setup, like factory default. But yes, it's the minimum. It's the minimum tire pressure you can run, and that's basically what I'm gonna run for the entire session, because it's technically the fastest thing. So installation lab also includes checking the aerodynamics, checking the top speeds. Therefore we go a little wide here in order to carry some speed on the main straight. And we just start our first lap, hitting like 300 kph, down into turn 1, a 180-degree right-hander, which gets into even closer 180 left-hander. Full acceleration through turn 3, a downhill right-hander. As we approach the end of the first sector, hard braking zone for turn 4, uphill right-hander. The car tends to step out on the exit. Before we go into turn 5 and 6, high speed corners, long left-hander ending in a long right-hander. That's where you really have to have a good balance. Turn 7 and 8, a double apex right-hander, which you can take like in one corner. Turn 9, heavy braking zone, hairpin. The car wants to step out on the uphill acceleration into turn 10. Getting into a narrow turn 11, another right-hander. Up ahead, left-hander, full throttle, turn 12. Long right-hand braking zone, going even tighter to turn 13. Before heading down the back straight. With a DRS zones here, but this car doesn't have DRS. And another last heavy braking zone into turn 14. And the final corner of the lap. So after doing all the installation laps, we just come back to the pits. And do our first changes on the car. Classically, Malaysia is one of the mid-aero and mid-downforce tracks because you have a lot of fast speed corners where you definitely need grip and downforce. So that's probably the first thing we're gonna change. So yes, a very important corner definitely is turn 9, 10 and 11 because that's the point of the track where you need perfect stability and perfect a perfect steering of the car. You really need the perfect balance there to really smash the full throttle and then hit the brakes for tight turn 11. And you have to be perfect on the line there. So yeah, we're gonna look at it. Reaching 300 kph is because of the short gearing. That's a little bit better now, and because of too much aerodynamics. And that's it for the minute, I would say. So what we're going to do is put 90 liters and prime, because with a heavy car and the prime is working even better. And now we're going to fully attack the circuit for like 2 or 3 laps to just get the a main feeling for the balance of the car. And I'd like to welcome my teammate here in FSR, Martin Stefanko. I said it a lot on the past weekends. He did a great drive here at Circuit of the America last time around, winning his first ever and the first ever FSR World Championship win in a race mid-season for Avid Chronic Racing and for himself, obviously. So hats off for this performance. It really was a great drive. The setup was good on the day. While he has won the race, I managed to came before, and we kept the chance of locking in second place in constructorship alive. Yeah, Paul, you might have seen us both there. Me and Martin have been both there for Avid Chronic Racing. and checking out the latest things on Sim Racing Expo. And I think you saw it already from the driving angle here. The car is very bumpy and very rigid, very unstable. I probably need to reset the delta best at the top. And the car really wants to step out on me mid-corner. Yeah, I really have to fight the car around turn 10. What Paul said is a very important corner. If you fight your car in the first lap of stint, that's probably not the best sign for your setup then.
That was a 1:38.23.
Paul, have you been together with Nikodem Wisniewski and Kuba Brzezinski there? The good thing on this track is that the prime is on temperature after just one lap. Because of the high speed corners, this track is very demanding on the tires. From what I remember from the FSR race, the option really likes to overheat a lot. So does the prime a bit. Yeah, and on all these bumps the car becomes very unsettled. I missed the braking point for 11. So this lap is for trash. So is probably the next one. What I really do feel is that the car is incredibly stiff. Especially on the back. Like there's no zone or no buffering zone in the rear, which actually means as soon as the suspension gets compressed, it tends to immediately break out on me and wants to spin. You can see this on every bump I hit. As soon as I hit the bump, the car balance entirely changes. You'll see it here in turn 7. There's the bump, and there's the next bump, and I immediately have to counter steer it. And you're gonna see this around turn 10 as well. Just wait for it. That was the first bump. Around 11. Yeah. The second bump was the curb this time. So, with that said, I just try to do one other lap before going to garage and change something minor, because I really need to set some sort of mistakeless lap time to have good comparison. I'm not too sure, Paul, whether you don't need to brake for turn 11. I mean, with 90 liters the car is really heavy. Especially in those slow corners I feel a lot of understeer. Now wait for the bumps and then see the car just stepping out in turn 5 and turn 6. On every little bump I need to correct a very lot. Car not turning at all into turn 11. Just wait the car to turn around 13. And we set 137.692 as the first benchmark. So when going to the pits now, I already got some things in mind that will help our situation. The worst thing at the minute definitely is the car becoming unsettled over the bumps. From turn 5, turn 6, 7, exit of 7 into 8, out of 9 into 10. And to me it feels like there are a massive amount of packers sitting in the rear, which need to be removed. I'd like to welcome another special guest, Enzo Gilli, a 13-year-old French karting champion. Just joined me on the broadcast here. Had some fun racing with him yesterday in race room experience with a DTM on the Nürburgring and a prototype car around this race room circuit. Very low grip there. Right, looking at some key facts first. The gearing was good so far. However, 301 on the main straight is not that much. So there needs to be something in the setup, and we have a first look at the suspension. And as I expected a little bit, 3.3 centimeters of packers. I put them at 1 for now, same at the front. And this will probably just help our issue with with a oversteery car over the bumps. We just shortly give it a try and see if we can improve on our lap time. And Paul just mentioned about increasing the engine brake, and this is for turn 11. So what he means basically is to simply lift off the throttle, shift 1 or maybe 2 gears down, and then the car will brake. Not all by itself, but considerably easy into turn 11. So you don't have to hit the brakes, which might unsettle the car there. And Yeah, he is some sort of right. But before trying that, because that increases the fuel usage over a lap, I just try to fix the problem by working on the suspension first. And if I just need another little nudge, oops, talking and driving not always a good thing. If I just need a little bit more deceleration there, I'm gonna increase or decrease the brake map here. The brake map decreasing increases the braking force being applied to the rear axis. So let's see what our setup changes will do with the car. Looking at the delta, we're going a little faster, and now doing 302. And remember, we haven't changed anything aerodynamically, so the increased top speed on the main straight definitely comes from the Packers, enabling the car having less drag and therefore reach higher speeds. And you now should see me gaining time through this turn 5 and 6, which is coming up now because the car now is a lot more settled to the ground. Turn 7 coming up. A lot more confidence for the acceleration. And at the minute I'm just fighting the cold tires. And I just found out that the first gear is too short. Because when hitting the first gear, the brake map and the coast and the preload kicks in, which tries to spin the car around, which therefore shows that the gearing change between second and first is too huge. So I'm gonna demonstrating this in this final corner, going from second into third, and the car wants to spin around. So if that happens, you probably need to either lengthen the first gear or shorten the second one, so you make the difference a little bit less. Coming out of turn 1, we're a little faster than on our 37.6. And now we're approaching turn 5 with 2/10 in the minus, which definitely should increase around going around here, but it doesn't. Because I'm feeling too much understeer in the car now, especially when going full throttle. So we just keep the time difference. But it's a lot smoother through here. Hence why we make up some time. But now the car has become way too understeery. So we need to rework on the suspension again.
That lap was a 1.
Oh. Right. rFactor 2 has just crashed, so that's very unusual. However, we quickly restarted, and we bear in mind that we just did a 137.5, if I'm not mistaken. If we are lucky, the delta best at the top will remain, so we're then gonna be able to see where we really did improve. Yeah, rFactor 2 being rFactor 2. In fact, this has happened just 2 times since I got rFactor 2 in like this manner. The first time was like a few months ago, and I got this game or sim for like 5 years, so I'm getting a bit worried. However, being back, we go back to the defaults, we put the prime tire on again, oops, we set maximal brake forces again, brake bias again, we set the rear packers to 1.0, and now we go even lower with the front packers, because now it felt like the understeer came from the front when the suspension ran into the packers, which then stops the travel range from the suspension, giving you a very stiff front, and a very stiff front can't carry a lot of speed throughout the corners. Paul, I have to disappoint you, it's not a G27, it's a G25. And yeah, I know it's very loud. It's secure sometimes, but you know, never change a running system. So I keep it as long as it keeps working, unlike rFactor 2. Yeah, Nox, probably I was going too fast for rFactor 2 to handle it. I'm sure that's hopefully not the case, because I want to go even faster. Yeah, sure, I can give you a short notch into the FFP settings. There you go. That's basically what I use. To be fair, I do not really care a lot about force feedback. All I need is just a tiny little bit of feedback, which I get from the Logitech profiler in combination together with the force feedback settings here. Probably some people will look at the settings and be like, oh my god, they are completely wrong, and how can this guy even drive? Well, I can. I'm not sure whether I could go even faster or something if different settings would have been applied. But that might be something to test throughout the winter. For now, I just keep it because we got our final race in FSR on the upcoming Sunday. Carrying on with the program, I better say restarting the program. Yeah, final race of the Formula Sim Racing 2017 season coming up on the next Sunday at Interlagos in Brazil, starting 5 p.m. GMT. Me and Martin Stefanko trying to go for a double podium and maybe lock up the second place in Constructors' Championship. Currently we are running 4th with Avid Chronic Racing, and yeah, we just hope to do a lot better this time around. Yeah, Paul, talking about force feedback settings, I would definitely like to talk to you, maybe after the stream or after the upcoming weekend, to see whether I can get a little bit more feedback out of this G25, which basically is a good wheel though. It's cheap, it's solid. I mean, I have this for 7 years, and apart from the buttons on here on the wheel, everything works. Congrats on the P6. Surely not a bad result. So let's simply have a try whether we can improve on the lap time. And as I can see, the top bar is calibrated to our lap time we just did as rFactor broke. And meanwhile you have seen that I reached only 300 kph, which definitely got to do with the packers I set at the front. I set them even lower, so I allowed the suspension to have more travel range. However, to me it feels like that made the understeer even worse, which would point to the theory that the suspension itself is by far too soft, and the car bottoms out on the bumps, bottoms out in the corners, which therefore creates the understeer. But we will go another lap with fully heated tires. Yeah, thank you Kulak for your charming words. I hope all you guys watching can take another piece of knowledge for yourself.
The lap was a 1:38.42.
Good morning to Australia, Harley Hamnet. Hope you had a pleasant journey in your sleep, and you're ready for your upcoming day. So sadly, the Delta Best now applied to the 138 I just set. Oh, going over the curbs there is a lot of understeer. Hell yeah. So we keep in mind, before the rFactor 2 crash, I did a 137.6, and we're currently looking to go a little bit faster than that. As we come around doing a 137.3. So despite the fact going slower on the main straight by 2 kph because scrubbing on the ground, we also made ourselves a little bit faster because of the increased aerodynamical downforce, because of the low suspension at the front. Because when the front chassis and the front suspension is very low to the ground, a lot of air is compressed into a very thin volumina, or very small volumina, creating a lot of downforce, like exactly the opposite of a plane. So that definitely helps while cornering. However, if you go too low and the car scrubs on the ground, there's no air that can flow between the track surface and the body of your car, which then makes the front downforce stall completely, and the rear downforce on the diffuser being reduced, which then results into a sudden loss of grip, a sudden understeer you feel while acceleration, you feel while going to mid corner. So that's something you really want to look at, and something you really want to eliminate. And that's probably the next thing we're gonna do. So what definitely has helped us here was the packers a little bit more attached, a stiffer anti-roll bar at the front, which means that the car doesn't lean more to the left and more to the right while going through corners, which also should help the suspension to not scratch on the ground. And we try if this solves a part of our problem. If not, we got something else to adjust. But first we have a look whether we can go faster with that. Paul, I started sim racing on rFactor 1. Well, I maybe need even go a little bit further back in the history. The first real racing game I had was F1 2000. I played it with a keyboard. Then my first wheel was a Cytec wheel. With that I played F1 2002. And after that I got myself rFactor 1 around Christmas 2005. And that's where the whole journey has started. So I'm doing sim racing for nearly 12 years now. Yes, Nox, rFactor 2 really does simulate this this airflow. Because when running in behind another car, you are affected by the dirty air, so the diffuser is sometimes very useless. And I keep talking for now because I just need a second lap to warm up these primes. And if you adjust the rear in the back, the rear ride height, you definitely affect the aero, and I can show you how this works after this lap, because now we do have a rear ride height of 5.0, which is, I have to say, a lot for this car, but currently I need it. And with a ride height of 5.0, on the one side I allow the suspension to travel a lot. On the other side I do lose very much grip just from the diffuser, so that means that the rear can become unsettled quite suddenly and produce bad traction, because it's mainly the diffuser that helps out of the slow corners and into the fast corners that keeps the car stable, in cooperation with the rear wing, obviously. Yeah, but this flow of air is definitely generated. Like you can see Motec files, you can see the stalls. If the car scratches the ground, you can see the diffuser stalling in the data. So I think it's definitely being simulated. And the car feels a lot better with warm up tires. So we have a look whether we can improve. Looking at the top speed. On the next straight. Top speed is still 300. Yeah, and I forgot to trickle down the wings and change the gearing compared to the other setup. So that's why we're not reaching full top speed. However, as you can see, the new packers helped a little bit on that understeer, together with a stiffer front anti-roll bar. There's a lot less understeer. . Probably a little bit too much brake pressure at the front. Nice and tidy through 11. Into the final corner before the back straight. Turn 13. Nice acceleration there. Carrying a little bit of speed out of turn 13. Increasing our delta to the negative. Final corner. Be patient with the throttle, and then we go a 136.999. And to shorten things up a little bit, I shortly park the car and press escape. To now show you the difference between high ride height and low ride height, so I put it on the maximum in the back now, which is 8.9. And you probably now will see me spin quite a lot, because the diffuser does not work at all now. And yep, there you go. Going on the straight, I should not even reach 300 kph now because of such high rake. The car is being put to the ground quite massively. There will be a lot of drag because of the rake. So you see the car is very unsettled in the back. And if you will compare to previous driving, I'm not really overdriving the car. It's simply the diffuser that doesn't work anymore. There's no downforce being created by this flow of air. However, to fully confirm the theory I just said about the top speed, I just try to finish one lap and go on a straight. We might even hit the same top speed because obviously the air going underneath the bodywork creates some drag as well. But I think it has become quite clearly that the diffuser doesn't work at all in the back. And I can't really do anything about it. I mean, I just look like a bad racing driver at the minute. But the car really wants to spin at any occasion. So looking at the top speed we will reach 380, 295, yeah, just 296. As I just said, the higher rake, and I can't really drive this because the diffuser does not work at all, as I just said. The high rake just made me created so much drag that I lost 4 kph of straight line speed. And in comparison, we now have the lowest ride height available, and now you will see the car won't turn at all, especially in high speed corners, because the grip in the back is so massive. Now the rake is negative, which means that the front is higher than the back, and now we get more uplift rather than downforce. So yeah, just see around turn 5 and 6. And you now can see that the car is not very handy at all. It feels like floating because now I'm scratching on the ground continuously in the back. And furthermore, with the packers being set at 1.0 and the ride height being very low, there's close to no suspension travel whatsoever. Yeah. Just parked the car on the curb and spun. However, I'm quite sure that now we reach at least our 300 kph on top speed. No, the weight transfer plays its role, but it's definitely aero related as well. And in the moments where the car doesn't scratch the ground in the back, I do have very much grip. And now just look at the top speed. It was short to 301, but it's the gearing that's too short that kept us from going faster. Despite the little mistake, you will see the delta in the top rising because of the massive understeer I have. Just lost 2.5 tenths here. And just lost a tenth in 5 and 6. Losing another tenth in 7 and 8. Probably won't lose anything here and gain something if done right, but no. As you just see, I lose time in every corner because of the understeer being created by the grip balance too far in the back. So we go back to box, fix some stuff and go out again. Oh, I remember that game Martin Stefanko just referred to, the GTR2. I think it was based on the rFactor 2, rFactor 1 engine. I'm not quite sure, but I think it was. Right, we were at ride height 5.0, which has been good for now. However, the car really didn't feel so bad with a low ride height. It was just too low. So to increase the grip in the back, I'm gonna put it at 4.5, which will increase the efficiency of the diffuser a little bit. Furthermore, I will increase the stiffness on the front anti-roll bar, which should prevent the front from bottoming out while cornering even more. On the other hand, I need the front suspension spring rate at least 2 clicks softer at the minute, because generally I want the suspension to be soft so I can go fast around turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So I take this for now and hope. Oh wait, I need a pushback because I forgot to fix the arrow and the gearing. I wanted one final longer, and I want the first gear to be a little longer as well as the second and the third. That will increase the stability of the car out of the slow corners. A little longer gears mean a little less torque, still same amount of power according to the RPM, but the lower torque will personally just help me getting deployed the throttle a little easier. And I want to demonstrate also the effect of shifting down from second into first in the hairpin, and maybe show you then that this spinning movement that came from shifting down from second into first is a lot better now. So second into first, and the car does not step out. So that is a clear signal that the first and second gears more into harmony. I haven't heard of this rumor, Nox is just referring it. Haven't seen anything from GTR in the past 4 or 5 years, I think. So meanwhile, I'm expecting a top speed of yeah, 303 maybe. We're hitting 30. Still 301. Or we just let rise the temperature into our tires and see if we can get a final, a better exit from the final corner. The prime, despite the fact the track is really using the tires, probably need just 2 laps of warming up. Yeah, don't touch the curb there. That will just set you off. And I got too much understeer in the car. So Martin and Jochen, called Nick Fried Socked, have just proved me being wrong. According to them, in fact, there is a GT3 in work in progress, so we're gonna be very interested to see what it will get us.
That was a 1:38.82.
Yeah, we now use first gear around turn 2, because that means there's more power on the rear axis while braking, which makes the car rotating a little bit more around the corners. Approaching turn 5 and 6. Too much understeer, way too much understeer. So the setup change we just did didn't really help, which was on the one side lowering the spring rate, which should help us increase the front end grip, and on the other side stiffen the anti-roll bars. So the anti-roll bars just could cause the high speed understeer, because now the suspension in the front is too stiff to roll enough in order to get the load required to go fast around the corner. And on the other side, the soft suspension could mean that the third spring packers, which are still in place at 2.1 centimeters, disable our car from rolling even more. So what we quickly gonna do is decrease the third spring packers at the front to see whether this will help rotating the car. I forgot to set brake map 5, red size 3. So we remove the packers to 1.5 at this time. What else we did was decreasing the ride height in the back, and remember what I just said about the rear downforce being generated by the diffuser. At high speed there's a lot of air flowing underneath the car, which therefore increases the efficiency of the diffuser quite a lot, which can create such kind of understeer which is had. So I want to see first if the packers help on the issue. If so, we should see an improvement in lap time again. If not, I'm gonna rework on the ride height in the back. But the front third spring packers should also help us in slow corners, because especially in slow corners, the third spring packers play an active role. So we're just gonna have a look. If we get around this turn 9 even faster now. And this really feels good to me. However, I'm not too sure whether the packers help so much in the fast corners. But probably we need to do just another in lap to warm up the prime tires completely. And then we will see on this. Meanwhile, if you guys got any questions whatsoever, like Nox had with a simulated airflow on the rear axis, in terms of the ride height, just feel free to ask. I try to simply answer them as good as I can. As you can see, the lower packers in the front definitely helped in turn 2. 1.5 tenths gained. Should help on turn 4 as well. Half of a tenth gained. Half of 100, sorry. Really didn't help in the fast corners, just a tiny little bit. Only enough to make it work. What do you want me to try in the brake balance and engine braking? So this was probably just the heat up lap for the tires, and we match our previous lap time closely with a 137.04. So 2 tenths now gained. Tires fully warmed up. No, the car's still generating a little bit too much understeer. Overall, it seemed to be a good setting though, what we found. What definitely helps into turn 11 and turn 13 is what Paul just said, the brake balance and the engine brake map. That's something I will adjust for the next run. As we hit the 136.7, so the setting definitely helped us. Especially on those slow corners. Well, brake balance, I can push it very much to the front. This is the maximum for the car. Then you will probably see me locking up at the hairpin, going into the gravel. That's the thing I can show you in the current state of the car. There comes the hairpin. And yeah, way too much braking balance on the front. However, if I put it to the back, if I now slightly touch the brake, I'm probably gonna spin. Not here because I was too slow, but into turn 13, which is this one. Yeah, the car immediately wants to spin, and I do not make the corner because of the brakes, but because of the speed loss while sliding. We will see it in turn 14 as well. And that's a perfect example for having too much brake balance on the rear. So it's the rear axis that locks first. Ideally you want to have the brake bias some sort of in the middle of the car, because that makes the braking distance the very shortest, physically and theoretically. Of course you have to consider like going uphill, going downhill. But in fact I could deal with a lot more brake performance in the back, so I put it to 52.5 at the front. And I just felt too much understeer being generated by the setting of the anti-roll-by, so I go back 5 clicks on that one again. And furthermore, to increase the cornering performance around turn 11, turn 13 and turn 14, I put the brake map into 3. So what happens with the brake map now is, as soon as I release the throttle, no, Martin, it isn't. I'm the teacher and Paul is some sort of student having questions, and I answer them in perfect experimental manner, I think. So talking about the brake map, here in this FSR car there are 16 different types of brake map. 0 is being the highest brake map that can be attached, and 15 will be the lowest brake map, which means the engine does not brake at all when going off throttle. I can demonstrate this to you in the next run as well, just like I did with the ride height. Nox, what do you mean 0 adjustment to the shocks? If I want to save some brakes, well, first of all, you do some lift and coast. That not only saves brakes, but that also saves fuel. And you stop the trail braking, because while trail braking you keep the brakes attached to the car for a very long time. And 50% braking for 10 seconds is less is even more harming than 100% braking for 5 seconds. If that makes any sort of sense. So that's how you play safe on the brakes. And by stop the trail braking, I mean braking 10 meters earlier and release and fully decelerate to the speed you need for the corner. And then release the brake while turning in. Hey CC, thanks for the charming words again. I'm happy if I can give you some explanation and some good advice. Definitely helps me thinking about what to do next. Which now will be getting a good lap together before getting back to the topic of brake map.
The lap was a 1:39.28.
I was surprised about the speed I could carry through that slow corner now. Approaching turn 5 and 6, this should go a little faster now than before. And yes, we can make up some time here. So the anti-roll bar was the setting that kept us understeering like mad. And that was the brake map in combination with the brake bias. So I put it one more click to the front just to get the stable car while braking for turn 13. And now I'll let the brake map do the rest, making the car get a good rotation through the apex. That was the little green thing coming up towards the exit, and now we just go perfect through the final corner. No, we don't, but we still improve on our lap time by simply having a better exit because of the better rotating car, making it a 136.6. And that's the thing about brake map. Before, the car literally didn't turn or rotate into the corner, and with a higher brake map, even while not braking, the engine train and the engine, the suspense or the forces being generated by the engine train being attached to the gears slow down the rear axis, which results in a deceleration moment in the rear. And yeah, I mean, a deceleration moment in the rear is like doing this. Wait for it. That is a perfect example of a deceleration moment in the rears, which means that as soon as the rear brakes, the weight is shifted to the front, and when the weight is on the front tires do have more grip, so the car turns in better than before. And that's the sense of brake map. I will show you a little difference now by going into the pits and put the braking bias to 53.0, which I keep as a standard braking. And I simply then increase the brake map to 15, having no engine brake in the rear whatsoever, and then I completely attach it to 0, which means that the full engine force is being transferred to the rear axis while being off the throttle. So I put this, as I said, on 53.0, and I put this on the maximum value, which is even higher than I thought. It's 20. What Paul says here is very, very interesting, because he's just about right. On qualification, you really want the car to turn into the corner perfectly, so you attach a lot more brake map. However, when going through the race, you want to have a little bit more stable car, so you may want to have a little bit less brake map so you don't lose it on the braking. And you can now already see the very difference, because I tend to keep a tiny little bit of throttle attached, despite the fact the gas pedal is spiking a bit, I have to admit. But you see a lot of understeer, because no brake map whatsoever. The car does not lose any speed at all, as you can see. I will just show you the difference on the main here on the straights. So I'm gonna accelerate to 250 and simply let, as soon as I go straight again, and simply let the car roll, and see what speed we do have when approaching the braking zone. So this is no brake map whatsoever, and we have 140 kilometers an hour when approaching the braking zone for turn 14. And now I have full engine brake attached. So as you could see from just watching with no engine brake whatsoever, the car didn't really turn at all. Like in this state, the car would just go off towards the grass. And you definitely will see a different behavior now into all the corners. The brake map also helps on braking for corners, because it's just like ERS on a modern F1 car. There's more brake forces being attached to the rear, so you can run a little bit more brake balance in the front, which help the brakes again, because the rear brakes, they get a lot hotter because there is less air reaching them because of all the bodywork in front. Now look how nicely I get through turn 11 just by letting the car roll. And that's exactly what Paul referred about for turn 11. You simply just want to let the car roll into the corner, and it goes around by itself. So it accelerated 250 again. Seeing the effect on the engine brake. $60 at the braking point, so a difference of 80 kph. So you really could see the engine taking away the velocity, taking away the power of the car just from running and being fully attached to the drivetrain. You can feel this on your own private car. If you go in 80 kilometers an hour and you release the throttle, the car slows down a little bit to maybe 60 within 10 seconds or something, because there is a lot of force and a lot of rubbing. I can't get the word at the minute. I would to Google it. That slows down your car. And on the other hand, if you go in 80 in fifth and you press the clutch, the car will go at higher velocity for a lot longer, and you won't hit 60 in 10 seconds, but maybe in 30 or something. So that's basically what it explains engine brake or brake map quite well. Yeah, the brake map will save some fuel. I'm not sure whether it needs to be attached or not. Because on the one side, if it's not attached, so if it's set on 20, the engine runs in idle, more or less, like burning fuel to keep running. Whereas if it decelerates, it makes use of the RPM. Which I actually don't know how the saving is affected. I would need to do some research on it to give a proper answer. But going back to the setup itself, we keep it at 3. That was a pretty nice balance, together with a 53.0 brake balance. And I felt the car understeering a little bit too much still. So I go 2 clicks softer on the anti-roll bar. And because the packers actually worked nice in the slow corners, I decreased them to 1.0 and go out and see whether I can improve on the 36.6. I think the brake map is something you can change in park for me conditions. Yeah, Paul, I think so too, because the engine is not attached to the drivetrain, so it needs fuel to still be operated, or it needs more fuel to still be operated, rather than be run by the drivetrain on 0, where the car is attached more to the drivetrain. So I think that actually makes sense. Right, the car now feels very aggressive on the front. Going through that turn 7. And probably for the hairpins and the hard braking zones, I now would need to put the brake bias a little bit more to the front. Because at the lower speeds, the rear likes to snap quite easily. But we will see. Despite being in the first lap, I went faster through 1 and 2. Let's see if we can carry even more speed now. I think for this section the tires just were not in great shape yet. There's so much more car performance because of the low third spring packers and slow corners. It's incredible. Yes, CC, the FSR server is still on 1108 build, I think. And I think we keep this for the final race. So with all the setup changes we did, a 136.4. Let's see if the second lap is even faster. To my personal liking, I could need a little bit more grip in the back. Which I'm gonna create by decreasing the rear ride height a tiny little bit and taking away a little bit more packers there. So simply increase the mechanical grip. So this lap time wasn't really faster. And to be fair, I think Nox mentioned it earlier on a little bit. Playing around with the shocks. I really need to admit, if I got a weakness in terms of setting up a car, it's dampers. I've tried to read so many guides and so many information sheets about how dampers work. And in the end, all of them confused me quite a lot. So I'm still fishing a little bit in the dark, if you can say so. So I need to get back to work and have some research on that still. Not the way you want to go into the pits. Right, as I said, Packers 0.5, right height a little bit lower. Three clicks. I think one click differ on the anti-roll bar is not too bad either. To increase the front downforce, we go one click softer with a third spring. And then we have a look at something else for now. The differential. The next thing I'm gonna look at is the differential, but first I want to set a good lap time in. Yeah, a little bit. Not really wanted to go that much sideways into the pits, but yeah, happens sometimes. Oops. I'm not sure whether I went too low now. Yeah, the diffuser helps a lot now. Because I lowered the rear, the diffuser works a lot better. Which generally grants a lot of stability in the back. Not for braking though. But here the car is just to my liking at the minute.
The lap was a 1.
But Paul might be right that the car is a little bit too rapid. Shifting the weight to the back on acceleration. Can we get the 135 with that set? Let's see. Probably not if we drive like this.
The lap was a 1:36.52.
I need to get a pitch perfect lap into score 35, I think. Nope, not with that kind of setup at the minute. Still, we improved our setup by 1.5 seconds, I think. Starting at the 37.6. We now made our time up for 1.5 seconds within 1 hour, which is a good start for now. And I hope 6X, as soon as he watches the stream later, I hope so, since he asked me doing a setup video for Malaysia. And I hope that this helps him quite a lot. Yet I'm not finished yet, as I just wanted to follow the instructions of teacher student Paul, saying when the rear is too rapid on the acceleration, get the lower rear fast bump. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do now, and see whether I can improve car performance on that. Yeah, but Nox, to be fair, the drift into that hairpin was not that much of a big deal. I mean, you can look into my videos on YouTube. I did at exactly that turn, I did it full rally style in one lap, and it wasn't particularly slow. So I'm gonna reduce the rear fast bump by 3 clicks, and I just see whether that helps. My issue with the car now was it tried to step out when going on the accelerator, out of turn 13, out of turn 14, here out of turn 2. You saw me always correcting on the exit, like just right here. Whoops, that still remains. And it was a little bit twitchy out of this corner as well. What happens now is just that the oversteering moment steps in a little later, to my feeling, and I'm not sure whether this is any helpful for me now. We will just see. Yeah, I also have the feeling or impression that preload helps out on this. But to be fair, I do not really know. Because I'm not really knowing technically what the preload is really doing. What you wanna me develop there, Scalino? Like what setting? Nope. To be fair, that really didn't help. So, Robin, what would you suggest doing then? Which setting changes you mean, Scalino? I mean, I now went 3 clicks softer or 3 clicks lower on the fast bump, and it just shifted the time of the problem affecting the car. So I probably go back 1 or 2 clicks. So go back to 6. And well, the preload setting is quite high, so I put that to 20. And now concentrating a little bit more on the differential. The first thing I want to say, the pump is the general differential. Like the lower the percentage is, the more open the differential setting is. Which means the more open the differential is, the less combined or the less attached the left and the right hand rear wheels are linked together. So with a fully open differential, the inner tire spins at a lot slower speed than the outer tire, which therefore enables the car to turn even more. However, if the differential is locked, then both tires or both rear tires will spin at the same speed, which makes the rear axis to be very stare, if you know what I mean. So the rear axis cannot really be turned at all, like you have it on a parked trailer for a car or something. Those axes usually are being linked together, so you can't really turn them left and right. So you really have to give it a lot of push and something to really turn those trailers around. As Robert Rice has joined the chat and sent some greetings from the Hansestadt Hamburg in Germany. Hey Robert. Good evening, and I hope you enjoy watching here. So in order to make the car more oversteery, you want to open the differential. However, if you want the car to be more stable, you want to close it. And pump is just a general setting of the differential, while power only affects the differential on acceleration, whereas coast is affecting the differential on the braking or off the throttle. So off the throttle I do not need too much of help, but for turn 13 and turn 11 I would put it to 10. However, the general differential should be around here. Same goes with the power, and that should now get me into the range of setting a 35. So only for short moment. That's interesting. Have we met at the Sim Racing Expo, Robert? With the differential I now just set, I should go faster around turn 5 and 6 where I'm currently in. And I should go a little faster with a little bit more slide angle around turn 7 and 8, which is here. And let's see whether the braking issue still occurs for the hairpin. A tiny little bit. I should have increased performance through 11 and 13 now, with the car turning even more. The understeer from 12 should be fixed so I don't hit the curb as soon as the tires are in temperature. And with that combination I now should be ready to set a 35 as Stefanko just requested. So let's see if I can make him happy. No, I'm overdriving the car in a minute. Oops. Fucking the wall. Yeah, Nox, I know what kind of drawing you refer at. However, I got that drawing not in reach at the minute. But I had this drawing out for Singapore, since I felt Singapore was a very good track to show the impact of differential corner by corner. That was a perfect place to explain it. So if you go into the playlists and look for the setup guides, you will see the setup guide for Singapore, where I show a little drawing. Well, it was a big drawing, big piece of paper, explaining how differential actually works. So for now, I just want to get the lap together.
That was a 1:52.02.
As the braking bias is a little bit too much in the back. I'm still not satisfied enough with the car, so I will need to make the differential a little bit more aggressive. And then I'm quite sure that the 35 is on the table, like the virtual PB points 36.0. And we got 11 minutes left in the session to achieve it. So we go even 3 clicks lower here, another 5 clicks lower there. Making the preload a little bit softer helped a lot. We want the brake bias a little bit more to the front. And I felt a little more loosey back would help as well, like a little bit more suspension travel range. So we keep it like that. Aber ich dich nicht, oder wie? Getting the tires ready for the lap. Now you keep confusing me a little bit, Robert. How can you see me on Sim Racing Expo while you being at Tenerife? Car is a little bit more aggressive, which is more to my liking. Currently heading for 35.9. And I think Stefanko will be happy. 135.933. But yeah, as you can see, the car was really on the edge. Yeah, I'm proud of myself as well. But thanks for your support. Yeah, Mox, that really was. Let's see after a cooldown lap whether we still can improve. However, the virtual PB points to the fact that I just did purple sectors everywhere in the last lap. So I will have a look whether I can give it a final blow. The final corner was definitely some space or some place where I could have gained something still. Nope, not really. Yeah, but anyway, I hope that you guys could get some knowledge from today. Especially I hope 6X, my friend that asked me to do the setup guide here around Malaysia, will get some knowledge from it and enjoys it. I definitely learned something today as well. Remembering myself re-going through the progress of making the setup for the FSR round 6 around Malaysia, where I was able to sneak pole position and then sadly had an incident mid-race that caused damage to the suspension and well made me losing the lead and finishing in 6th position in the end. Yeah, just from rethinking about how I prepared for that back then. Definitely gives me a different impression now. I think I will approach the setup building process a little bit different next year, and yeah, So as you can see, it's not only you having some fun and you having some interesting time here. It's also me being able to rethink on something, to recapitalize on what I know and what I experienced, and yeah, taking my knowledge from it to improve in the future. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed watching today and you had a great time. And I'm very happy for you guys to be around watching and be around discussing and start philosophing about various types of setup possibilities, various types of setup settings. That means a lot to me, like being helpful for the community and being somewhat enjoyable. So yeah, I think today we have seen some activity going on that you guys may be able to, yeah, to get an advantage in the future. I actually hope so. And for me, of course, I was enjoying doing this for you guys. So if you want, keep supporting me. I will be happy about that. And we'll post some serious stuff in the near future. Especially from Avid Chronic Racing. There's a lot to come, I can tell you that. So keep your eyes open there. And for now, going back to the pit, in the replay tape. I just hope you have a nice evening, and yeah, I hope to see you soon here on my channel. Keep on racing, guys. Have a nice evening. Thanks for watching.